part of the prompt asks you to identify 2 persuasive strategies that the author uses to support his or her argument and analyze how those strategies might persuade the reader to support the claim. So often students are confused by what the prompt means by strategies. So perhaps you've taken a course before where you learned about rhetorical appeals. An author may appeal or reach out to the logic of his or her audience, or in other words, might try to connect with the audience on a logical basis. Possibly an author will try to appeal to the emotions of an audience, make a connection emotionally through the language. The whole point of an argument, at least from the standpoint of the author, is to develop his or her ethos or credibility. So if you keep in mind that the author is using strategies to develop credibility, then what we want to look for are what are the strategies that the author uses to do that. So notice that we said to appeal to logic. We're talking about reaching out, appeal to emotion. This is from the author's standpoint to the audience. The audience then will enable the author to develop credibility. So by strategies we mean, what are the techniques that an author uses to make those appeals? Some examples of appeals to logic, that is strategies that an author might use to appeal to logic, would be reasons, explanations, definitions, examples, statistics, quoting other experts in a field. What the author is trying to do is get the audience to agree that these statistics, these explanations provide a reasonable explanation or provide reasonable support for the author's argument. On the other hand, an author can choose to reach out to his or her audience on an emotional basis. So strategies that an author might use to do that would include vivid emotional language or examples, narratives of emotional events, and emotional tone. Often an author will do this in order to provoke an audience to a particular kind of action. And that's what we're looking for, is your understanding of an author's use of these strategies for a communicative intent. What is it that the author is trying to do? So in this section of your paper, which we might call the body of your paper, we want you to identify 2 persuasive strategies, any 2 that you can observe that the author might be using. They don't necessarily have to be an appeal to logic, an appeal to emotion. You could just note a couple of strategies that the author uses to appeal to either one. But what we would like you to do is to identify the strategies that the author uses, and then give an example of them, and then explain what it is that the author wants the audience to know or do. So I would recommend that you approach this by stating one strategy in one paragraph, let's say, quote the use of that strategy, and then provide an explanation of why you think the author is using that strategy. Again, what does the author want the audience to know or do?